My name is Derek Harris. I'm the current owner of Lewis Leathers, and we provided the costumes which Nicky Henson and the Living Dead wore in the Psychomania film back in 1973. Lewis Leathers was based in Great Portland Street in the West End of London, and we had been there since the 1890s, but specific to motorcycling, we've been making competition motorcycle clothing at least since 1926. So really the shop was very well known for its motorcycle connections, and even more so after the 50s, after World War II, when the whole pastime grew exponentially. So Lewis Leathers was the home of motorcycle racers, speedway stars, and of course guys that just went to work to and fro on a daily basis. In 1956, Lewis Leathers introduced the Bronx jacket, and with this item they were deliberately targeting a younger rider. Up until then they'd been doing sort of coats and everything, clothing that keeps you warm when motorcycling, which is very, of course, very important. They still produce those items, but I think they had an aging customer base, so they started to target a younger audience, and the Bronx was the first jacket which we introduced at that time. It was quickly taken up by the then ton-up boys of the late 50s, who gradually turned into the rockers that most people have heard of, and their scuffles with the mods in Brighton and elsewhere. And of course Nicky Henson brought his own personal Bronx jacket to the Psychomania film back in 1973 and wore it throughout the filming. The Bronx jacket really wasn't just an American style jacket. In fact, it had its roots in one of our old jackets in the 20s and 30s, but it was specifically made for riders, for this riding style that a lot of young guys were adopting at the time, which was basically aping the TT races of the day. The style was haunched right over the petrol tank, clip-on handlebars, arms low, and the Bronx jacket incorporated things like expansion pleats at the back to enable more of a forward riding position. We covered the buckle in leather so it wouldn't scratch the tank, which was obviously a very important thing because a lot of young guys buying bikes did so on hire purchase, and they were very expensive. So the Bronx, not only was it a great looking jacket, it had a lot of form and function to it as well. This is a typical mid-70s Bronx from around about the time when the movie was made. As you see, it's got this D pocket, which was actually one of our features of our clothing going way back to the 1920s, when we used to make the flying and motorcycle clothing, and the D pocket was basically to put maps in. So this is something that we've carried on for many years. I've mentioned before about the Bronx having a leather covered buckle to prevent scratching of the petrol tank, and here you have it. This little pocket on the sleeve was exclusive to Lewis Leathers since time began, really. It was one of our sort of trademark features, and it's useful for tickets and coins and bits and bobs that you might need. I say this particular model is actually called the Twin Track Bronx, which was quite an innovative design back in 1965. You had like two options for zipping it up. So in the winter time, you'd use this track, which gave you the opportunity to wear more clothing. In the summer, if you only want to have a t-shirt on, you zip it up to this track, and the jacket becomes a bit tighter. Obviously it's got our logo there, and the AviaKit logo, which is something that Lewis Leathers has used since the 1930s, when it actually denoted aviation kit. Hence you got the wings in there as well. So that's part of our company history. And I mentioned the expansion pleats on the back as well of the jacket, and here they are. They just allow the rider to reach further forward if you're riding in a kind of a TT crouch, as some people call it. Here's a pair of early motorway boots, as worn by Nicky Henson in Psychomania. So this is the early version. The later one had two straps, but really these are still in production, almost identical to as they are here, and they've been around for about 50-60 years now. And Nicky Henson also wears a pair of our hide motorcycle trousers. This is a typical pair from the early 70s. So sort of square shaped pockets on the front, deep waistband, and zippered back pockets. We've run these now since the late 50s, and they still in demand. Great pair of trousers. So this is the lightning jacket, as worn by Dennis Gilmore in Psychomania, who played Hatchet in the film. He wore a lightning jacket, 4-pocket, Lancer front, snap-down lapels. It's kind of the lightning is very much sort of easy to recognise with the 4 little adjuster belts on the waist. Again, this was the idea was to avoid having a buckle in the middle. So in this case, we pulled them to the sides, and it lessens the possibility of the tank getting scratched when you're riding. Again, it's got a little sleeve pocket. It was this was our biggest seller, really, during the 70s. Not only to motorcyclists, a lot of punk rockers, heavy metal fans, and musicians like Lemmy, the Sex Pistols. All opted for lightning jackets, and it was and still is a really good, a great item and a really good seller for us.